Hey friends, I brought something with me today that I'd like to show you. It is something that my parents bought me for Christmas many, many years ago. It is a safe. It's an old safe. You can see that it's a little bit beat up. It has some stickers on it. It used to have a lot more stickers on it, and you can kind of get an indicator of the age of this particular safe by looking at one of the stickers in particular. If you're a fan of professional baseball, then you might recognize the name of this team right there, a team that hasn't existed for a long, long time, but it did exist back in the days when I got this safe. But of course, what do you use a safe for? You use a safe to keep things safe. You put things inside of it. So I'm going to open up the safe, and inside this particular safe are the things that I kept in the safe from the very, very beginning, the same types of things. And the things that mean a lot to me, the things that I wanted to keep safe, well, baseball cards. I used to collect a lot of baseball cards. And I would keep the baseball cards of my favorite players, my favorite teams. I would keep them in this safe and lock them away so that nothing would happen to them. But I wouldn't just keep them there. I would pull them out from time to time and look through them, and I would exchange different cards for different ones over the course of time. But in general, you use a safe to keep things safe. And the types of things that you want to keep safe are the things that mean a lot to you. Having a safe is, you could say, an indicator of what it is that means a lot to you. Well, that's the way that God wanted the Israelites to use God's laws. And at the end of Deuteronomy 26, he said, I'm giving you my laws as a way for you to show that you love me with all of your heart and with all of your strength. And apparently the Israelites had made a declaration that that was the case, that they loved God with all their heart and with all their strength, and they made a declaration that they were going to continue to love him. They were going to continue to follow his laws. They were going to continue to put them into practice as an indicator of just how much they loved God, more than they loved anything else. But they must have, I bet they realized something as they were making that declaration. I bet they knew, well, they weren't going to always be able to follow through on it. I mean, their past just had way too many examples of times that they forgot God. They complained about how he was treating them, or they tried to take God's place and try to control things in the way that they wanted rather than let God lead the way through life in the way that he knew was best. And so as they sat there in the present, making that declaration that they were going to love God with all their heart and with all their strength, they must have known that they weren't always going to be able to follow through on that. Not as well as they wanted to anyway. Which is why it was really good that the Israelites weren't the only ones who were making a declaration that day. At the end of Deuteronomy 26, God made a declaration too. And this was his declaration. He said, God declares to you today that you will always be his people. You will always be his treasured possession. You will always be the thing that God loves with all of his heart, with all of his strength. And I bet that made them feel good, especially on the days when they hadn't done a great job of loving God with all their heart and with all their strength. They knew that God would still love them with all of his, because God does not break a promise. And that feels good for us too. We look back in our past and we don't always feel great about the decisions we've made, or how we've treated others, or how much attention we've given to God, or looking at how much of our heart and our strength we've used on him versus other things. And even in the present, I bet it's not difficult for you to identify maybe specific temptations that just seem to snag you so quickly every time you're up against them. And that's why it's such good news that God made the same declaration to you that he did for Israel. When he put Jesus on the cross, he was declaring in front of the whole world that you are his people, that you are God's treasured possession. You are the thing that God would choose to put inside of his safe. Except he doesn't use a safe like the one I got. He just uses himself. He wraps you in his everlasting arms, and he never lets go. He keeps his eyes on you all the time without even blinking. He uses all things going on in all of history for one reason: for your benefit. Because you are his treasured possession. And because you are, you get to walk through the rest of this evening knowing that you're going to be okay. And tomorrow, whatever comes, you get to know the same thing. Because you have a God who will use all of his heart and all of his strength just to treat you as the treasured possession that you already are. Thinking of that truth allows you to rest well tonight, my friends.